We are waiting to go live. We're now live, which means hello and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are bringing you Transformers news from around the world and also, especially today, around Australia. Specifically, I think like Sydney and Tasmania, but that's kind of it's like a straight line on the eastern coast of Australia, around Australia. Okay, this is episode 179. We are recording live on January 25th, 2019. That means that we have the extraordinary distinction of recording on Australia Day Eve. I don't know. Is anyone else like geared up in singlet and thongs like me?
No.
Anyone watching the video will see that this is not true. But
no, I mean, there's always the debate of whether or not I'm wearing pants at the very least. But you know, that's a mystery we may never solve.
Ash has Schrodinger's pants. See?
I'm both wearing and not wearing pants, or thongs.
Very good. You've got quantum pants on. Anyway, in this episode, we will be talking about Ash's pants. We shall then continue to talk about some Transformers Siege releases and whatever else is in the news of the week. All that coming up after this.
Mario music?
Why I've gone into the Mario music? Well, actually, it's kind of appropriate, right? Because the theme for the show is like an 8-bit version of the Transformers theme. So, you know. All right. Hello and welcome to episode 179. I'm Jason. Joining me this week, we have Ash down in Launceston. How are you doing, Ash?
Fantastic. It is muggy. It is warm, but I'm in a cool, calm area surrounded by plastic toys. So I'm ace.
So it's muggy and warm pretty much right across Australia. We also have Max joining us from I believe the city has been renamed to Melted Adelaide. You guys set a personal best this week with 47 degrees. How are you doing?
Well, yeah, I didn't know that it could be physically painful to breathe, but going home from work yesterday, I found out that apparently it can.
Apparently it can.
47 degrees.
47 degrees. So look, I got to point out that like while Australia has been basically everything but on fire, Sydney, because I live towards the east of Sydney. Like Sydney's lovely because we have sea breezes. Yeah. And so Sydney's forecast today was like 31, but it got to like 40 out in the west because there's no sea breezes. So
Tasmania's been a little bit on fire. Just a little bit. It's a little island, so it's just a little bit on fire.
Yeah, a little bit on fire. Look, you know, they say about Australia, right? If it's not on fire, it's underwater.
Or it's venomous. So there you
go. Yeah, pretty much. And in that case, it's underwater because we've tried to drown it.
Exactly.
So, without further ado, we would usually cut to Bot Shots. However, Bot Shots is not up and running yet this year. This is the second show of 2019. It's still January. Things are still getting off the ground. We're still organizing Bot Shots for the year, so no Bot Shots to go to. We are going to instead, we're going to go talk about some new figures that we all picked up during the week. Well, two of us. Sorry, Max.
Well, two of us and a person who just is too much of a cheapskate nowadays to really commit to buying anything.
Oh, the worst thing a collector wants to hear. Can't afford.
Fair enough. Let's put that photo back up there and let's fix up the display of toolbars. There we go. Hey. Nice, very nice. So, last week we talked about how Siege has finally hit Australia and how it's in the chain known as Toy World, which means that it's everywhere in Australia that's important to Transformers collectors except New South Wales. We also had the odd distinction of it only actually, at the time, it was only in Victoria. Anyway, this week, Siege went nationwide, except New South Wales, in Toy World stores. And finally, the drought broke on Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon? Was it Friday? No, today's Friday. It was yesterday, Thursday afternoon, when news of sightings of Siege figures came out, and they were at Hobbyco. This is great. Siege is available. Like, it's nice. You can get new toys. However, Hobbyco in general just charges about 10% more than everyone else. Deluxes were $40.
That's harsh.
Voyagers were $55 and Leaders were $100.
Oh, really? That is super harsh. Wow.
It is quite harsh. So yeah, like thanks Toy World for the pricing for the rest of Australia, but Hobbyco, thanks for selling them, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
thanks for at least providing an option, even if it isn't the most attractive one.
Yeah. So, I having been armed with this knowledge, I ran into Hobbyco after work last night and ran into Declan, who was there. Declan is better known by his YouTube alias of Dr. Lockdown. So we grabbed some Siege figures, grabbed some bots, which were also on sale at Hobbyco, and promptly took some photos. So.
Are the bots priced accordingly, or are they still got the Hobbyco 10% more?
The bots also have the Hobbyco tax.
So you can't get change out of a $5 for a single bot.
They actually don't have the single packs. They have the 5 packs and the 8 packs, and the 5 packs are $18, and the 8 packs are $28.
Oh, that's just annoying. It's the only real way to describe that. The $25 for the 8 pack down here in Toy World's fantastic.
Yeah. So I've purchased the Voyager class Optimus Prime. I've purchased Skytread because I lack me a Duocon. I got myself a 5-pack of bots that contain figures that I didn't already have. There's some of the packs because I ordered 2 of the 5 packs off Amazon a couple of months ago, and that means that I have various figures that might already be in packs. So when I buy new packs of bots, I need to be a little bit careful.
You're rolling the bot dice. Speaking of, is there a bot that turns into a die, like a D6?
I can know at some point.
I feel like there should be. Yeah.
I feel like eventually, it's one of those things that eventually there's going to be a bot for everything.
I think the goal was that by the end of 2019 there will be a bot for every single house appliance that is imaginable, and some that are not.
Yeah, and then they're just going to start going completely off the rails.
Yes, yes. So Ash, I believe you picked up a Skytread this week as well.
I did. As of today, I'm now the proud owner of a Skytread, who is a fantastic little deluxe figure. Obviously, I'm very, very unique in the sense that Toy World is very generous with the prices because instead of the $40 price tag, you get change out of $40 for this guy, which is fantastic.
So it's 35 really is the recommended retail price.
Yep. The $34.95, really good price point.
I've also got myself a Skytread, and look, mine are in vehicle mode. Yours are in robot mode. So
mine is in.
How handy is that?
Mine is in bot mode with supernumerary pretend I'm Blitzwing gun attachment on the back. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely fantastically love this figure. I also got myself one of the weaponizers because I was interested in sort of how they work. I do like the idea of sort of the little mini master dudes that turn into guns, but I had no idea that the weapon effects that came with the weaponizers were actually rubbery, wibbly wobbly, which I think is fantastic.
I do need to ask a question. If you can just reattach that to where you had it.
To where I had it originally?
Yeah.
What? As in, where he was, originally, when he was just
just when you detached it before. Right. Just hold it up there and show us. Hang on. I'll click that, and yeah, just turn him around.
So what you're looking at here is what a man that effectively has the world's worst jetpack on his back. I don't think it's meant to go there, but it goes there.
It does look like someone's lit his fart.
Exactly. He's a rocket man whether he wants to or not. So yeah, that is Decepticon Blowpipe, who is a beautiful shade of baby robin's egg blue. It's he is the least menacing looking Decepticon I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, Megatron's white.
Yeah, true, but he's not robin's egg blue.
That's true. True.
So weaponizers, I'm very, very keen on them. Again, lovely prices there at Toy World where sort of you can get yourself $10.
$10. It's standard retail price for that figure class, right?
Yeah, and it's a fantastic price point for sort of a bugger it, why not?
Pretty much.
I don't need one, but for that price, bugger it, why not? So
Now I'm just gonna shift the camera onto myself for a minute as well, because I also did pick up this guy from Hobbyco. I figure if I'm gonna spend some money on some Siege figures, I may as well go for Optimus Prime, right? So he does. He has a nice little
Optimus, but not Megatron.
I did because I figured that given that the Voyagers were $55, I figured I can buy Megatron.
I keep forgetting that they were $55.
Yes.
Toy World $49. You're like, I could change it of $100 for 2 Voyagers, but no, I understand.
So basically, I bought myself a Prime. I keep going to say flywheels. I will say flywheels, but Prime Skytread. And
I too have said flywheels several times, but obviously his documentation says very clearly he is Skytread.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
So yeah, Prime has quite a so Prime's got a bit of a backpack on him, but it's quite neat, right? So like the bulk of the truck mode that's not sort of the false chest
his backpack's a
up.
bit more of a flat pack, isn't it? It's just sort of a panel.
Yeah. He's taken a few steps from IKEA, right? So he's got a flat pack backpack.
Oh,
there we go. And
3 times fast.
And like his matrix chamber is present, but there is no matrix with him. So I've instead chosen to store another Optimus Prime head inside his chest,
which is all levels of wrong. It's just wrong.
The empty matrix chamber is like, hey, you guys, you bought Power of the Primes, didn't you? Yeah.
And if you didn't, you missed out. But yeah, I think the story there is that it's not the Prime on the outside that counts; it's the Prime on the inside.
Yeah, it's the inner Prime that counts.
Yeah,
most,
exactly.
Right? So look, I'm pretty happy with the guy. Like he's got some pretty damn good articulation on the arm. There's a lot of sort of lateral movement there. His smokestack sort of pop up a little bit, but also like he does the swivel on the hip. Legs are quite solid. Like I think the underside of the arms probably attracts a little bit of criticism for sort of having hollow pieces, but other than that, like there's not a lot of hollowness to him. Like like the back of the legs are well filled in.
It seems to be a recurring theme with the Siege figures is that they're sort of very, very good with sort of trying to hide what would have been hollow in other ones. Like Flywheels or Skytread, as it were, has a very similar section where his entire bottom of his legs folds in on itself and wraps everything up really beautifully. It becomes this perfect sort of chamber of just sort of leg meat, but robotics instead. Whereas like your other figures, you sort of can't help but go, well, that's hollow because it would have cost too much to fill it in. But panels, baby, just panels.
Like I kind of feel with these in hand, I do feel like we're getting a different type of plastic in Siege than we're used to in sort of the last series.
It does feel a bit denser, and I mean it's sort of got a bit of a matte finish to it, which I mean like Combiner Wars and through Power of the Primes, there was a lot of really shiny plastic that is used in a scuff.
Is it rubbery in any sense? Like, is it more flexible than these ones?
I'm just going to sit here and rub
I'm
my
just thinking about, maybe they've brought in different Hasbro plastics. Isn't there like other big Hasbro lines often have quite denser plastics?
It has no flex to it, but it is a very dense plastic.
Yeah, look I'll go with that. I think I think it does feel. I think it does feel slightly softer. I think it's not sort of as hard a finish, but that might also be sort of because of the finish that they're going for with the paint jobs on these guys, which I've said several times. I'm not a fan of the paint jobs on Siege. I don't really like the distressed paint jobs, and I still don't like.
Yeah, I think that's very much a swing and a miss for me.
I posted a picture of Prime on the discussion group last night, and someone I think it was Prime sort of shot from around here, sort of like you can see, so like his legs weren't in shot, and someone's just like the paint job on the top of his legs looked like he's shit his pants. Like, I will just point out, thank you. It is Australia. We are Transformers Collectors Club Australia, and it is the eve of Australia Day. So, the description of a Transformer as looking like he has shit his pants is indeed uniquely Australian.
It is.
Thank you.
It's very apt.
Yeah, very, very apt, and also kind of accurate. Yeah.
So just before we move on from Optimus, one question I did have is that he does have a very cool axe accessory that's a little bit unique. I mean, he's obviously had axes in the past, but usually they're sort of the orange energy axes and sort of interesting things like that. Is there any gimmicks with it? It looks like it has a gimmick.
So the blades fold up. I don't know if that's really a gimmick. I think it's just more a case of like it folds up so that it can transform. Now I guess it's more like he's now Pope Prime.
That, or if you were to rotate it around, it's almost like he's got a guitar.
His guitar, yeah. Look at that. He can shred. I might get animated Soundwave out for a photo shoot. But
there you go. You got Shredimus Prime happening.
Yeah. Well, I've already got Shredicus Maximus packed away somewhere. Yes. So, now I believe you were saying also that it looks like some of the weaponizers can clip onto the axe as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, the interesting thing is that Lionizer, who turns into a bit of a weird sword with a massive hilt, the weaponizers do actually come with images on the box that show the weapon effects, the rubbery weapon effects being attached to other parts of the line. And the example on the back of Lionizer appears to be Optimus Prime's axe. So, I mean, I didn't take into account exactly how it works. I just went, huh, cool, and then moved on. So,
I was actually wondering, is it possible that it's not the axe, but it's actually Pteranodon?
I have no idea. I know that it's Optimus holding it, though.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely Optimus holding it. That's why I was like, I really wish I had an Optimus, and I don't.
Fair enough. Last but not least, I will just point out also that the cutest Transformers on the face of the planet are also now available in New South Wales. Now, we did this last week where we went through the names of some of these guys, and I've just realized that I threw out the instructions yesterday when I was at so like I'm gonna have to look them up. But so Transformers BotBots have officially been started in Australia. I picked up a pack. I reckon there's a lot of love for this next guy that I'm gonna show. And I'm not sure whether this is his real name or not, but I've seen it online. I give to you Burgertron.
Is he Is he got an afro there made out of patty?
Like a meat patty afro?
Maybe it is the meat patty.
Is his face the Italian flag?
No. But he is very simply, if you just like fold him up, there you go. He's a burger.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I like to think he's the grandson of the original McDonald's transforming burger.
I think
these are kind of, they feel like spiritual successes in a way.
In a way, yeah. It's a little popsicle as well.
Yes.
And, just in case you've got any jobs that need doing around the house, there's a little hammer as well.
I love the hammer guy. I only just saw the hammer guy for the first time today, and the fact that there is a hammer, there is a chainsaw. Is there a power drill? Surely.
I think so. It
must be.
I need to locate more of the power tool ones, but no, it's totally hammer time, right?
Excellent.
Now,
I would actually love it if his BotBot name was something like MC.
Oh, I totally should. I can't tell because I've thrown out the sheet of paper. But
exceptional work.
I'll figure it out. Ash, do you want to open up a BotBot live on the podcast now, or do you want to wait until acquisitions later on?
I was about to say let's do it now, if only because it's going to be quick, and because we have actually had a bit of a think about exactly how this works. So, delicious BotBots, $4.95. That's change out of a $5. This is my first one, and obviously this is one of the single packets. The way that it comes is that it's basically a giant pimple that you pop that includes a robot inside, and we may know what's in here.
100%. It's 85% less gross than popping a pimple.
This is correct. So I'm now going to do this in the hopes that I don't accidentally, launch it across my desk, because I've seen other people do that. So
I think you need to just peel it and then use the perforation.
Well, I tell you what, you are absolutely correct.
We did talk about this before.
We did talk about this.
The show.
That's just raw in the cardboard there.
So it's in a plastic pimple, for lack of a better term. So it is in fact Kid Clobber, which the discussion that we had earlier was that apparently the BotBots actually have a number on the back of the packaging that does tell you who it is. And so, as you can see here, it's a boxing glove that I think has been mistransformed because of how the hand works. Kid Clobber is a boxing glove.
I didn't realize he was a boxing glove when I looked at him earlier. That's
great. I'm absolutely positive I can transform this without even reading instructions, which is fine by me.
When you say absolutely positive, was that 100% or was that like 90%?
It was. If I say I'm definitely going to do this correctly, I'm only going to make myself look like a fool if I can't. But it actually turns out that yes, this is Kid Clobber.
That's fantastic. He even looks like he's been punched.
He has a black eye and a missing tooth. So,
and also, he's a boxing glove with a hand that is a boxing glove.
I know he is going full meta in this case. That's like the hammer guy wielding a hammer as a weapon.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
What is not to love with BotBots, eh?
The thing I love about these things is the fact that you read every single one of their ridiculous names. There's no other way to describe it. You've got Kid Clobber, and you've got like ridiculous things like a what is it? There's a bonsai tree and all this stuff. But
There's a
every
Venus flytrap.
single name,
Mm.
every single name has been trademarked.
Yes.
So these absurd puns about household items, Hasbro has such pride in them that they've trademarked every single one.
As we pointed out last week, Sticky McGee.
Yep, Sticky McGee, and there's like Sippy Slurps is
Mhm.
one of them. I love Sippy Slurps, and Cheddar Jack, the nacho cheese bucket. So yeah, that was quite good. So good, in fact, that I've actually got another bot put aside for another time. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. An unveiling of a tiny little boxing glove man, and I love him, and he lives on my monitor now forevermore.
Well, look, that was exciting enough that like I can understand why you would want to hold on to that reveal for another time.
Yes, I think I'm going to just make a habit of opening one every week at this point, just so I have an excuse to buy one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So if we were to go back over that news, if you're in New South Wales, you can find Transformers Siege figures at Hobbyco stores now. They will cost you a little bit more than usual at Siege and BotBots. They've also got quite a good selection of Cyberverse and Bumblebee and a couple of leftover Transformers Power of the Primes figures as well.
There's also been a very interesting sort of wave of, if everyone's familiar with the leader class Cyberverse, Megatron suddenly seems to be appearing in shops again, as if there was just like distributors are sending out more waves.
There's a lot of them around, isn't there?
I got friends in Melbourne who have said that yes, their local stores have somehow received half a dozen beef tanks. Beef tanks, which is the accepted term for that massive, mighty, meaty Megatron, the beef tank.
That also seems appropriate. One other thing to note about the local release of these Siege figures is that we do appear to have completely skipped Wave 1 of the Battle Masters and jumped right into Wave 2. So we are actually looking at Wave 2 figures, and Wave 1 Battle Masters have gone missing, and we don't have Wave 2 Micromasters anywhere at the moment. So I'll just put that photo up there, and bit of a shame, but look, I'm sure it will come to pass. Oh.
They'll turn up eventually, even if it's 2 waves late.
As is very often the case with our stuff. All right, let's move on. So sticking with Siege for a little while. So we do have some new photos now. These have been classed as in-hand images. I will warn you that there are no hands photographed in these, no hands present in these photographs, but we are looking at Ironhide. So War for Cybertron Siege Ironhide is I think he's a Wave 2 Deluxe. So he's due out soon in the US, and a lot of these figures look really impressive, don't they?
I'm really liking Ironhide. I think his transformation looks really interesting.
Max?
These figures, I don't know, I sort of, first review, I sort of soured on them a bit, I think, because I'm like, oh, good, more G1. That's exactly what we've been lacking. But to be honest, nowadays, I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, yeah, it is more G1, but they look damn good. They look really good. And I mean, just from hearing you guys talk about them, they are quite solid figures. And then
they really are.
And then you get things like Ironhide, and you've seen a lot of Hound as well, where they just have all this cross compatibility with other parts from figures and accessories in a line. And it's like
Hound looks incredible. Like, just generally looks really cool.
He does. Look, I had to choose a deluxe to get. I didn't want to buy too many of them because of the price point. So I chose Flywheels / Skytread, but so Sideswipe and Hound were also there, and I was just really close to picking them up as well, but I decided to wait. So the photo that we're looking at here is Ironhide with is it 6 gun broken apart?
6 gun, yeah, the 6 gun. He was obviously one of those interesting sort of. What's the terminology we're using to describe COG and 6 gun?
I don't think there ever was one.
Yeah,
but I have to look this up now because in all this discussion about these guys, Reese, over the past few months, I don't think I've ever heard an actual unified name for things like COG and 6 gun.
I'm sure there is one, but what I was going to say is because of the way that they've attached all these pieces to Ironhide, it does look like he has an extra couple of arms.
He's got hands.
Shoulder. There's some shoulder hands.
Shoulder hands.
Yes, shoulder hands. But yeah, so very impressive. I'm not super fond of this gimmick of sort of elevating figures in this line by putting things on their feet.
Yeah, I like the idea of having the extra weapon sort of attached in places, but the foot guns is a bit weird for me.
It works on Fortress Maximus and no other character.
Yes, Pretty King has feet guns, but that's his thing.
So interesting here to look at the size difference that we're looking at here, and so Prowl Prowl must be wave 2 deluxe, is he?
Mm-hmm.
So
correct.
Yeah, so like the size difference between Prowl and Ironhide is quite considerable.
Yeah,
it almost seems like a Studio Series thing almost.
It actually makes me wonder: are we sure that Ironhide is a deluxe?
Well, if he's a Voyager, he's a little boy.
That's true.
I don't know. Well, yeah, even I've heard some of the Voyagers in this lineup in decently sized. Yeah, and then you have things like where the leaders are, they're like a bit more engineering packed into them, but the scale's different, and you have stuff where, there's the Leader Prime and the Voyager Prime, but it's all, there's different size classes here, but it's all a unified scale. So I think I think they're going for the same sort of thing here that they did in Studio Series, right, where it's a unified scale and across the entire line, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was also a unified budget across all the figures in a certain wave, where they can allocate, slightly more to one figure than another figure.
So, like, they might make one figure more detailed, but at the cost of another, but still in the same wave.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me with that.
If they could be at a point where they can go, well, this guy has a bit more personality, let's put a little bit more engineering into making that happen, That, or perhaps they are actually just going, hey, you know what, there is a slight scale difference. So how about deluxe, instead of deluxes are this big, deluxes are between this big and this big.
Yeah.
They can have sort of an effect of going, yeah, Ironhide would be slightly taller than the, the car guys. Because if you look at it from a Masterpiece scale, again, it's not the holy grail of scale, but it is a good indication in some cases. He's slightly taller. Not as tall as Prime, but taller.
True, they are slightly bigger in Masterpieces.
Well, it's probably also in part due to the fact that, prior to the Prime Wars trilogy, right, Deluxes, Voyagers, and Leaders, they often would vary in scale within their respective price points. But over the course of those three lines, especially where combiners were involved, right, it generally had to be a unified size for every figure at that price point.
True, maybe we'll just combine it out.
Yeah, well, it's been, since... It's been for about 3 years or so, so it's basically just what we see as the default now.
You're probably right. There is a tendency of people, especially sort of in Transformers collecting, just go, "Oh, this has been the case for the last 2 years, so it's been the case forever."
Yeah,
there's no way it could possibly change.
Yes.
Until it does.
So, yeah, oh, man, look at that size. And I actually do wonder if Ironhide is a Voyager.
He definitely looks like a beefy boy.
He definitely does, doesn't he?
On the 6-gun thing, just quickly, I looked into it, and there's no unified name for that style of characters, which is strange to me.
Well, I think they're new. They're a new style of character, so... Yeah.
I mean, there were...
I don't think the originals did this, did they?
What, the 6-gun and what have you?
Yeah.
The explode into base components to become weapons.
Yeah, they all did that. It was... These are just the updates, but there's no... there's no unified.
Fair enough, but
what am I trying to say here?
There doesn't have to be. It's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Also, just checked, and Ironhide is a deluxe. So.
Yeah. So
definitely deluxe. Huh.
I was looking here, and TFW's news article does indeed say Siege Deluxe Ironhide. So
he's just a big deluxe boy.
He is pretty large for deluxe. So yeah. I guess look, you've unpacked a deluxe scale figure, Ash. So have I. There's a bit of space left in that package. So yeah.
And just on that note as well, just for the sake of pointing out as well, the packaging for Siege is exceptional. I'm really glad that they've moved away from sort of the old clamshell things. We have these really nice, interesting, visually distinct packaging with some really great art on it as well.
I feel like the move towards, I mean, they're essentially, they are reusable packaging.
Yeah. You can actually put the figure back in if you want. Like, I'm not a big person for keeping boxes, but these ones are nice enough that I actually think if I'm going to sell this guy, I can put him back in his box and give it to someone.
Absolutely. Look, I wonder if this is actually part of the sort of amalgamation of lines with Hasbro and Takara. So it's sort of we've seen this happen over the last couple of years with say the Last Knight figures, and I was a bit surprised that they went back to sort of blister packs for Power of the Primes, but we have seen it happen where sort of you end up with the boxed figures, and then they have sort of the little hang tag attached to it. So that's what you get with Siege as well. You do get the box, and they do have the hang tag attached to the front. One other thing that I thought was interesting about them is I don't know if the store that you picked yours up from had the shipping boxes on the floor, but Hobbyco did. They'd just taken the shipping boxes out of the back, and we're just unpacking the figures when I went in there. The shipping boxes are tiny.
Really? Actually, yeah, I have seen a picture.
Yeah, it's not a case of like 6 liters to a box. It's 2.
Yeah. Yeah. They've actually, and it's interesting because it makes you wonder if, like, are smaller stores getting less boxes and therefore getting smaller varieties of the range? Because I mean, I know a constant problem for being somewhere like Tasmania. It does mean that you run into a lot of cases where it's a case of, oh yeah, we're getting the new figures, and they have like 3 of them, and you go, oh yeah, cool. When you're unpacking the rest, they go, no, that's all we got.
Well, so you get Prime and Megatron in one box. You get Magnus and Shockwave in another. You do get 8 deluxes to a box. So like the deluxes end up quite densely packed. So there's obviously some double up in there. I think the one that I looked at had 2 cogs and 2 Skytreads in there.
Okay.
Must have been a couple of other figures that had doubles as well, but I can't actually think. Is there more than 4 deluxes in wave 1? Maybe they were both doubled up.
Hound, Cog, Sideswipe, Skytread.
So yeah, so must have been doubles of all of them. So yeah, like, I just thought it was interesting because we have this picture in our minds of these massive boxes full of stock coming into these stores, and I think it's interesting that's not really true now. Like you could get a shipping box that only contains 2 figures.
Very, very interesting. Unless they're trying to be a little kinder to sort of smaller distributors by just making. I mean, you can imagine the price per unit on a shipping box like that would be lower. So,
well, totally, yeah. Like maybe stores like Myer and Kmart and Target, maybe they still do get massive boxes worth of stuff, but
they get the big old ones.
Yeah. Let's move on. We do have a little bit of news about Bumblebee. Are we
back to discussing whether it's a prequel or a reboot?
We are not. We are not, but we are talking sequel this week.
Oh, good. Okay, excellent.
So when we were talking about Bumblebee's box office performance last week, it was sort of just coming out that it had broken 300 million thanks to China.
Thank you very much, China. Terribly sorry, Aquaman. You're a good film, but obviously China has spoken.
Look, I don't mind if China wants to choose Bumblebee over Aquaman. I didn't mind Aquaman so much, but whatever. So Bumblebee has this week gone through 400 million, and it's had its cinematic run in China extended by another month. Now that also puts it in cinemas during Lunar New Year, which should hopefully give it another shot in the arm for revenue. Now, we do know, as it crossed 300 million last week, that it sort of crossed the threshold of profitability. So the movie has a budget that's projected at around 120 to 130 million. There's some marketing and all sorts of other things related to that. So like once it hit 300 million, people went out, and Paramount executives and producers and directors all started going out and talking about it. So good news. And this week, having crossed 400 million, they are definitely talking sequel. What form that sequel takes is interesting. We have heard that there would be a Optimus Prime movie, but the sequel talk is now specifically Bumblebee 2. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, with a lot of his stuff, the only thing that we really know is in development and active development is that Cybertron prequel.
That's correct. Yes.
Other than that, it's all just been an Optimus movie, Optimus and Bumblebee movie, Bumblebee 2, big Transformers movie. It's all very up in the air.
Bumblebee tuna.
Right? So we don't quite know what this could be, because it being a sequel to Bumblebee doesn't necessarily mean this is Bumblebee 2. That could mean, hey, here's a Transformers movie, with a larger robot cast, but it's, it leads on from that final scene of Bumblebee with him arriving on Earth, but it'll be, likely following the more of a new creative direction set forth in this movie. It could be that, or it could be literally just Bumblebee fights another pair of Decepticons and some Autobots have some slight cameos. That's all we know.
I personally secretly hope it is a completely out of left field, either a standalone Ironhide movie where he's a grumpy old van just trying to get along in this crazy world, or perhaps we'll get the Blitzwing prequel we always wanted, just to figure out exactly how he came to be on Earth and how he came to be such a grumpy man.
I think the Blitzwing prequel would just be
grumpy Transformers, Ash.
Well, he's grumpy because the whole point is, did you think you could hide? Like, come on, man. He's just chilling out.
The Blitzwing prequel would just be 2 hours of B-roll from Travis Knight and Lorenzo de Bonaventura sitting in a boardroom and going, okay, just arguing about, is this going to be Blitzwing? Is this going to be Starscream? What the hell is this?
I've actually got an uncle that works for Nintendo, and he says that the opening scene of the Blitzwing movie is actually Starscream saying, "You need to go to Earth and pretend to be me. Megatron doesn't know I'm hiding."
Yes, very good.
Exactly.
Look, so it is worth pointing out that since the story is actually on screen, it does specifically say from Deadline, which is a site that has a reputation for being correct.
They haven't been wrong yet. Yeah, they've got reputable sources.
The sequel is in development, but it says that might mean a Bumblebee Optimus Prime buddy movie. Who knows?
Now, the question I have, obviously, is from the point that the Bumblebee standalone movie was confirmed, what was the development period? So, I mean, we've got this news now going that there's going to be a sequel, but, I mean, is it a case of, yep, cool, we'll see that in 2020, or is it going to be a bit longer than that?
It's been in development since 2015, right? The script, at least, was the first full draft of that we know was really finished in 2015. We don't know what else was finished at that point, but we know from there the movie went off. The movie went into full production. But obviously, so that's a decently long time frame, and it was also bumped back from June 2018 to December 2018. So, there's a lot of talk about shifts in creative direction and all that, and so that longer development period and that bump back in time frame lends credence to that.
I feel like the gestation period for a sequel will be far less than the original. All they really need to do now that they've got their creative direction, they've got their look, all they really need to do is find the story to go with it. Obviously there'll need to be some designs done for some new bots, because obviously they'll bring some new bots in. They'll need to figure out what to do. I'll just throw it out there again. 90s. You can set it in the 90s, and yes,
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, totally. Imagine what the soundtrack would be like, right?
Oh god, can you imagine the color palette?
Yeah, totally. It could actually be like Bumblebee Generation 2.
I mean, they have all those generic seekers in the background of that Cybertron scene. Do the same thing again, but have G2 Thundercracker flying around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have the Dayglow Bumblebee sequel for the 90s. We'll see how it goes. It's very early days yet, but
maybe we could finally have the DJ battle between Soundwave and Blaster.
Oh,
maybe
it could actually happen. Yeah, it'll be good. It'd be great.
They can both have human avatars to be their hype guys. I'm gonna put a wild stab in the dark guess out there, but I reckon 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
You reckon it comes out in 18
months? I reckon 18 months it'll be almost upon us.
That's ballsy, but probably not unrealistic either.
So basically end of 2020, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we're in a good point where if they're clever, I'm fairly sure that the developers of the film will see that obviously there was a good reception to the Bumblebee movie. It's a lot of people were tired of the franchise. Reboot, refresh, remix, whatever you want to call it. People were interested in it.
Yeah,
which is good.
absolutely.
Yeah, like people didn't walk out of it going, "Oh Christ, another Transformers film." People walked out and went, "Oh, different. Okay, cool." So even if you didn't terribly love it, you probably still thought it was different enough that you went, "Yeah, cool." So I'm keen to see what they can do in a sequel.
And you talk about like an 18-month potential time frame, right? Like the Bumblebee, this movie had a very long development cycle, but that's because of obviously there's a bit of back and forth and shifting in
creative direction.
Yeah. But with this hypothetical sequel, right? They basically know what they need to do. It's just like, okay, get a director, get a writer, have something with character that has more classic art style designs, have a good plot, and there you're set. That's basically it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
How hard can it be?
Well, I don't know. It took them about 10 years to figure it out.
6 movies for the original, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on. This story just appeared today, or was it yesterday? This month's Figure King magazine in Japan has revealed a new entry in the Golden Lagoon series, which is especially annoying for me because now I need to buy it because of Golden Lagoon Optimus Prime.
I think I need to wear it around my neck.
Yeah, you probably can. So we are looking at Golden Lagoon Soundwave. Now, this is not a masterpiece figure. It is another redeco of Titan's Return Soundwave.
Titan's Return beefy Soundwave in all of his glory. He does look he's very solid, some great greebling on him, and incredible surface detail, which is really nicely picked out in the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, let's be honest, this figure at this current point in time was so nice they released it twice. Remember, they re-released it for the Bumblebee movie as sort of a tie-in to go, you know what, tape deck. He's in the film, but it's not him, but it is him, but it's not. But people like this figure. Get it a second time. And now here it is for the third time. This time, it's gold, baby. And, I mean, up at the top where it says Phase 2, does that mean that there's going to be an entire second wave of the Golden Lagoon figures? Is this just the tip of the iceberg or the Goldberg or the...
It's that phase thing. I think it's just a marketing thing that Takara seems to throw around a lot.
I actually have a feeling it might be the part of the year that it's going to come out. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, the phase 2 and phase stuff it's something that often appears on these photographs of Takara products when they're revealed. I'm not sure that we've ever taken that much notice of what the phase numbers are on these, but we're going to have to do that next time.
Now, the question I have, obviously, with the Golden Soundwave, is there also going to be golden tapes?
That is an interesting question. There are no tapes pictured, but I believe one does come with them.
Yeah, I mean, he came with Laserbeak, did he not?
It'd be a missed opportunity to not do it. There's not a lot of parts on those tapes, so it wouldn't be massively expensive to produce.
No.
It's an interesting question. So it looks to me, I can't tell from a glance at that. I can see 2 and 10. It's possible that means 2nd of October release later in the year. That's quite a way off for another entry in Golden Lagoon, but maybe it's something else. Maybe that means something else. Maybe it's connected to phase 2. But who knows?
There'll be 2 of these figures produced, and you'll have 10 minutes to buy them.
That's pretty much how they work on Takara Tomy Mall. That's not true, but yeah. Anyway, so Golden Lagoon. If you are onto Golden Lagoon, as I have made the unfortunate choice to be, then you've probably got another figure that you're gonna have to get. Good luck.
Well, I mean, now that they're moving into sort of the leader scales, just wait for Gold Fortress Maximus, and I'm pretty sure that they'll just say in the ad, "We hate your wallet and we want it to die."
Oh no, they love your wallet.
Then why do they keep abusing it?
They love to empty your wallet.
It's consensual.
Yes.
There you go.
On this Soundwave vote, I remember we talked a bit about when the first lot of these coming through. Both a regular retail figures and also the Masterpiece Prime. Right, there was two very distinct gold colors on them, a quite flat finish plastic and a really bright gold paint. And this one, I can see, it seems to me there is 2 distinct golds here. There is clearly a plastic and a paint, but the plastic seems much more vibrant than it had previously.
I think so you can see all the shiny gold parts in robot mode, but in tape deck mode, the front of him, like the speakers, is not shiny. And I think that's because that stuff actually folds in on itself. So it's like generally they avoid the parts that actually connect with and touch other parts actually being shiny. So has the unfortunate effect of him not being very shiny in tape deck mode, at least from the front, but in robot mode is pretty impressive. And
just a big old, it looks like a gold brick with a tape deck.
Pretty much does. All right, let's move on. Now we are back to Siege for follow-up to last week's story about how Galaxy Force Prime was going to be the new leader class Optimus Prime in the Siege line, hopefully coming in probably wave 2 or wave 3 perhaps. And this week it has been confirmed. So we do have the photograph on screen, which has not been met with such universal acclaim as
in a word
we thought we were getting Galaxy Force Convoy last week.
In a word, when I saw this, I was confused. I was not excited.
Go on.
I was not disappointed. I was just confused. Like, there's not a lot of times where a Transformer will appear in hand image, blurred promo image, or an artwork where I'll go, oh yeah, and I'll either be in for it or I won't. I keep staring at this, and it's like a magic eye puzzle. The more I look at it, the more I see, and the less I understand. It's not for me, said Simon Cowell.
He is.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Look, he is a repaint or rework, retool of Ultra Magnus. So there's some things that happen as a result of that lineage. To me, like, it does look sort of like the chess piece is just attached to the front of another bot.
He looks like he's got Dame Edna Everidge's like massive, like ridiculous
spots
on his boobs. Yeah, it's just he's wearing giant novelty glasses across his breasts, and then there's wings on his back, but they have wheels. They are wheelie wings. And then
are you saying that his wings are really bad?
His wings are really confusing me. That's the way I'd look at it. And I mean, like, underslung, like, big double cannons. I haven't seen that since the old Kenner Aliens toys in like the late 80s, early 90s. But I loved it back then. But now I'm
pretty there for the underguns.
That's a rule of cool, mate.
But
underguns.
if you look really closely, they are not attached to his hands.
No,
there are 5mm pegs there, so.
Yeah,
but there are, but those are attached to the back of the figure.
Yeah, maybe.
Remember, this is Ultra Magnus too.
Yeah, so maybe they pivot around on the back.
Magnus in the legs too.
Yeah, maybe they like pivot around and you can actually they're attached to the back, just
like giant like stacks at the back as well.
Yeah, like see, it looks more like a realistic set of weaponry that sort of like can deploy and then he can go onto it.
I'm still very much of the opinion that this figure, posed correctly and possibly with some flattering promotional images taken of it, will do a lot more to sell me. But just right now, it just leaves me confused. So
I'm guessing the shoulders and chest are mistransformed. Because that whole area looks a bit out of place.
His
and
chest
beyond that, it looks really
is
solid.
Like here, and then his arm is here.
Yeah, and he's got like these weird flaps, like just cut, like hanging off and like over the top of his knuckles for some reason.
And the truth is, nobody likes weird flaps.
You got me there.
I'm going to call it. It's not mistransformed, but it's not very flatteringly posed. I think once some official images come out of this, we will probably warm to it, like we have the Ultra Magnus.
Show me promo art. I'm all for it. Show me a nice promotional image.
Yeah.
One interesting thing of note is that, you know, obviously with a lot of the Siege stuff, we've seen designs from the Siege figures translated into the designs of the upcoming IDW continuity. And with the Prime, right, the reason a lot of us thought that this was going to happen within the Siege line was that we saw the design for Prime in the new IDW series was based on the inner robot for the new Leader Magnus, right? So like, oh, okay, so they're going to do a Leader Prime out of that mold.
That's right.
But so this is obviously carried through here because you can see that chest underneath the larger truck panels. So that makes me wonder, you know, are we going to have Cybertron Prime in IDW?
Maybe. I think we'll find out the answer to that in a few months' time once the comics come out and once this figure comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's interesting that you can sort of see the new IDW Prime chest design on the shoulders of this, which is probably not selling it too well.
You can a little bit. Yeah, it's not.
Anyway, let's move on. This is far from the last time that we're going to see this. We are nearly at the end of the news section. There's a couple of things have come out this week. So Takara is releasing Repugnus and Grotesque, the previously was it Toys R Us exclusive figures?
They were like, I thought they were Amazon only for some of them, or maybe that might have been Counterpunch. Either way, the word exclusive.
I think Grotesque was the Toys R Us exclusive, and Repugnus was one of the Power of the Primes figures.
The word exclusive was plus.
Very
much a case of
Prime Wars trilogy. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. It was a case of if you want it, you have to do it this particular way and get it from this particular vendor. You're not going to find it at your local toy store. That was what was laid down. Now, here we're seeing in a 2-pack, the people who might have missed it, the people who might have waited, there are opportunities here for the people who want to make their Abominus. And I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I was surprised by it. I was never big on this particular range of the combiners, but I didn't mind these figures. I thought it was quite interesting. But I suppose the question I'd have to ask is, when do we start taking the word exclusive seriously, or when do we just stop?
It's an interesting question. My answer to this is that when we do start taking the word, when we stop taking it seriously, and we're like, that's fine, we can buy that later. Oh, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
It's like look. I think we probably always knew that Takara would do something with these figures. We didn't necessarily expect. Look, it isn't LGEX as well, so it is going to be slightly expensive because it's sold through TakaraTomiMall.com. It's an exclusive on that, but it's maybe it still hurts a little bit, but at least it is like kind of a Japan only exclusive, and it'll be a little bit more difficult for people to acquire. Also, can't really tell from these photos, or from here. Do you reckon the paint jobs are any different on these figures?
Did Repugnus? Did he always have a head that was that yellow?
I believe he did actually.
His head looks like it is carved out of cheese.
His pecs look darker in this photo. Like the Hasbro one is pretty bright.
Yeah, like see. I feel like it could be different, but then we haven't seen differences in Takara paint jobs and anything since maybe Titan's Return.
We have in Legends, and we're about.
Is Legends still going?
This is
Legends.
Figure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hasbro and Takara are releasing the same figures around the world. Takara did say that they will be continuing to make their EX figures, which are slightly different. So I guess there's a chance that these are slightly different in the paint jobs. Like it's a bit hard to tell from here, but like I said, I feel like I feel like Repugnus's paint job might be slightly darker than the Hasbro version. We shall.
Richard.
And we can't really tell from there. We can't really tell from there either. So great.
Nope.
All right, let's move on. This story we've left in just for a little bit of a laugh and a mockery. We've spent a long time talking about what could have been and what might have been in Transformers Bumblebee. That I felt like we should probably devote a little bit of runtime to what could have been and what might have been in Transformers: Age of Extinction. Now, a video has emerged this week of one of the producers of the film discussing what they had planned for the film, or what they originally sort of wanted to do with the movie, and it's a little bit wild. It's quite different to what we eventually got. And I'm going to hand over to you to talk about it, Ash, because I haven't watched the video thoroughly, but you've got a much better idea of what's in here.
Absolutely. As a reasonably new father, there is many a minute where I'm just watching YouTube, just having a quiet to myself. And it means I watch all manner of things. I actually did sit down and watch this one. And basically, the person that you're speaking of who was talking about is a bloke by the name of Rick Alvarez. He's actually a Transformers creative manager, which is a really interesting role. He actually explained that sort of his role was he was effectively
he's former, isn't he?
I think he's a former Transformers creative manager at the moment, but I don't know what he's doing now. That's what he was doing. But it's interesting that his career was basically Transformers fan to Hasbro creative mind person to like an advisor on the Transformers movies. It wasn't so much that he laid down any law. He wasn't the guy that says you must use this character, they must do these things. It was more of a case of, hey, we'd like to see this, and this could be cool, and have you considered doing this? So it means that there was quite an interesting, I guess, plot for, a plot idea for Age of Extinction being the fourth movie. People might remember that the original teaser poster was a big metallic 4 and half a Decepticon symbol buried in the sand. And, the actual film came out and there wasn't really much sand going on in there, was there?
Also, wasn't much Decepticons.
No, it was, there was the Decepticlones, the pixel cars, but we won't talk about that. But he basically gave the rundown that an interesting plot point for Transformers 4 was sort of the idea that there was going to be after the Transformers 3 and, the ending of that film being like, Megatron, blah, bit the bullet, and, Sentinel Prime, blah, bit the bullet. The idea was simply that the Decepticons, without leadership, pretty much became outcasts. They were not really a faction. They were just more or less a gang, effectively. And they referred to themselves as the Lords of Deception. So not Decepticons, but we're still going to use that term because we know it and we're familiar with it. And the general idea behind the film was that the Lords of Deception were basically a group of Decepticons that had banded together, lived in the desert where they'd be left alone. They had a fully sick underground lair. They lived in a cave. And one of the things that Rick Alvarez took the time to mention is that we would have imagery of them leaving their cave of a day to go out and forage for parts and energon and all the rest of it. And as they'd leave, they would slap these two Autobot heads that were hanging above the entrance to their cave, which was actually revealed to be the twins. So that was, I suppose, some creative input on how they felt about the twins from the second film. Now,
it only took them a film to get over them.
Exactly. Now, the interesting thing that he mentioned about the idea was that Lockdown it looks like Lockdown was always intended to be a dude in Transformers 4. The difference was that in this case, he was effectively going to be the leader of the Lords of Deception, and his alt mode was going to be, to quote Rick Alvarez, a fully brutal Mad Max car. So the last of the V8 Interceptors. And he pointed on a couple of cool plot points. It looks like Ratchet was always going to die, guys. I know people don't like that snuff scene from the start of it where he gets basically assassinated. But the original plot was that Ratchet was going to look into some strange happenings in the desert and get murdered by Lockdown, and Lockdown was going to take that massive circular saw that used to be mounted on his hand that he used for precisely nothing and wear it himself. So, there was some other.
You can actually see the shot on screen here with Lockdown wearing that saw.
Interesting. I don't know whether that was fan art or whether it's official concept art.
That's concept art.
I can't trace it anywhere. I can't find it.
I think this has just come out from this talk. I think
it's been dug up somewhere.
So it does actually say artist is Ken Christensen.
So, it's worth looking at what else he might have done. But, apart from that, the other sort of plot points they were pitting on is there was always going to be Dinobots. There was originally imagined a very cool scene where Optimus Prime would discover the Dinobots effectively fossilized underground, and he was going to use the Matrix in his chest to shoot a laser to basically brand them as Autobots, which the way he described it made it sound pretty cool, but... So it looks like the bones of the film, Lockdown being a villain, Ratchet being killed in cold blood, and the Dinobots were always there, but the film we got was very different.
Yeah, and there's stuff like the last two movies had this, it sort of come out of nowhere. There's this big focus on a night aesthetic, whereas it seems like that was originally supposed to be like a samurai type thing.
Yeah.
And he also said that they really wanted to get Lance Henriksen back for Lockdown, and he was interested as well, but Paramount was in charge of a casting decision, so they couldn't really do anything there.
So I will just point out, Ken Christensen. I did recognize the name. Ken Christensen is responsible for a shitload of Transformers packaging art. So if you go to his website, you can see the packaging art for Devastator, Combiner Hunters.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I love the art for Combiner World.
Yeah.
was Devastator. It was a very big fan of mine. Yeah, no, I actually really like that artwork. That's super cool.
It's definitely worth checking out his website. It is kenchristensen.com. So yeah.
I wish there was more of this, like this lockdown art. That's, I love how in the corner is just an Autobot symbol on the number 4. Yeah, it's just the 4th movie,
Look, I think it's interesting actually that it's an Autobot symbol when the other identities for the movies have the Decepticon one on it. But yeah. Anyway, we'll move on a little bit. There's only a couple more stories to go. Iron Factory's Megatron, also known as Tyrant, because that is the name that third parties love giving to Megatron. We had Tyrantron, Despotron, Tyrant. I think we've had several Tyrants already.
Just as many different words for like horrible, over the top leader person you can find. That's what people use.
Absolutely.
Synonyms.
Synonyms, yes. So the Iron Factory Megatron does seem a little bit more like one of the early IDW designs with the big sort of
really IDW.
It's very IDW, but it's not later IDW because
it's very.
This is actually more like a Mega Steel.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think the idea behind this is that it includes parts to be able to create a few different looks for Megatron. But yeah, a general recurring thing is that it's all sort of a bit more G1 style, and then a bit more of a really early IDW stuff. So like Stormbringer, Origin, Escalation.
And it's amazing that it all sort of boils down to, once you sort of change around his head and his shoulders, you end up getting these really unique looks for Megatron. Like right there on the screen at the moment, what we're looking at here is a very G1-esque kind of Megatron. Really, like you can see the fusion cannon, obviously. It's very much sort of the scope. He's got that amazing little laser beak on him. But yeah, it sort of boils down to head, shoulders, style of the fusion cannon, and whether or not he has a barrel sticking up his back.
I think Megatron's leg design, like from the knee down to the foot, is also very distinctive as well.
Especially with the red sort of inside, like it's not the inner thigh, it's the inner ankle, basically.
There is one other thing that I wish they would do, which is to stop using their phones to take photographs of these guys, because that's why Laserbeak is not in focus.
Or at least use a good phone. Like what? Yes. Is that Laserbeak from the Soundwave, the release that was announced not that long ago?
I think it would have to be. So like there's they've thrown in Starscream and Shockwave and Scorponok here. Like they're really sort of showing him against some of their other figures. So like Laserbeak doesn't. I don't think Laserbeak comes with him, but yeah.
Yeah, and then the interesting, I mean, that's not a standard Prime either. Is it the Armada Prime?
Oh, no, that'll be the War Within style Prime. It's one of their Iron Factory figures as well.
That's sort of in a similar vein to this, actually, like, because that Prime, right, like the robot mode's based on early IDW, and then the alt mode's based on War Within, and there's like a powered up form that's based on Jinrai, all this crap. So it's like, that's where that Prime has different forms that homage different areas of Prime, whereas this Megatron has just one base robot and vehicle mode that can be changed around to look like different Megatrons.
I do sort of feel looking at this shot, Megatron's torso looks too small. But
yeah. I mean, in this kind of look, it does seem to be the case.
Yeah. Still,
the Tyrant.
Yeah, the Tyrant.
That's what the box says, boys. The Tyrant, and then obviously it sort of has the rundown of the 4 different main ones there. So,
yeah, there's lots of different modes there, but yeah, look, honestly, neither of the modes really seems to capture sort of the more iconic Alex Milne Northern Meets the Eye design. But maybe they'll save that for another one.
I mean, as a legend size Megatron, I mean, going up against the likes of the Generation Toy release of Mega Sorry, as it were. I think he's a pretty cool looking dude. I mean, I really do like what Iron Factory does. I like that their reinterpretations of characters seem to be still very, very. What's the word I'm looking for? Is they're still very accurate.
I think they're very faithful.
Yeah, faith was a better word for it. They still like they sort of go, we're going to tweak this character, but they do it in a way that they lean on the strengths of the character. They bring out more characterization. They're working on this scale. It's Legends. It's tiny, but like little things like the Shrike's Feather release as a slipstream, like a character that came from nowhere. Their slipstream looks amazing, and I love that figure of Tarn and Megatron hanging out.
Yeah,
if only his Tarn's just sort of gazing at him.
I still kind of I still kind of feel looking at this. I feel like Iron Factory still relies a little bit too much on little details. Like there's all these little guns stuck on Megatron and sort of pointing.
I don't get the shoulder guns. Yeah, I don't. Why does he have pistols hanging off his shoulders?
But yeah. Anyway, like I said, probably not for me. But it's probably a figure that I'll see in someone's hand in a couple of months' time and go, "Oh, I really want one of those." But then I'll struggle to find. So we'll see.
It's unfortunate that a lot of people sort of fall down the rabbit hole of going, you know what? I collect Masterpiece, and now I collect Legends figures as well. And you know what? The one thing that's common between all of it, I'm broke.
Yes.
That's it.
One more story here. Notable only for sort of the direction that's going in for us. Like I don't think any of us are into this directly, but Toy World has a Legends scaled Beast Wars Transmetal Megatron coming out. Like we put this in so that we can talk about the fact that companies are sort of leaning into Beast Wars more.
Look at his little hand.
I know his little hand and his little is it a pterodactyl? I don't know.
He's got his pincer tail, which is just odd and weird. But yeah, much like you said, Jason, it's interesting that we're sort of reaching a point where Beast Wars is coming back in a big way. I mean, we've got Masterpiece figures of Beast Wars nowadays, and a lot of third parties are going, hey, people are buying this stuff, which means that if we make this stuff, they may buy it from us.
I think it's worth noting also that we are expecting Beast Wars Masterpiece Megatron in the next week and a half.
Have we seen a price for him yet?
Week and a half, Jesus.
Yeah, he is due out this month, and I even just checked with my supplier yesterday, and he said he's had no change to his ETA. So he will be getting loaded into containers and shipped out in the next few days, I think.
So generally, the yes will happen at any moment now.
Pretty much, yes. So, look,
pretty much yes.
Yes. I'm not that into Beast Wars characters. I do get the Beast Wars masterpieces mainly because I cannot have a hole in my numbering collection for Beast Wars, or because of Beast Wars for my masterpiece figures. But also, once I've gotten them out and played with them, I do actually quite like them. So, I'm a-okay with the Beast Wars figures. Megatron is super expensive, and that price is only going to go up further for Optimus Prime.
So what is that price for?
I think Megatron. I think it's somewhere between $350 and $400.
I was about to say $400 would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes with a lot of stuff. He's a very, very amazing figure. Like, just incredible likeness, really cool transformation.
He's quite big too.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
He's also a big purple T-Rex, and
what's not to love?
He's not Barney, but
All right, sad news. Sad news to round out the news section. If you're a fan of Combiner Wars and Titans Return and Power of the Primes,
or Machinima in general.
If you're a fan of Machinima and some of the videos that were created by some of the creators that are still out there and interacting with their fan bases, Machinima has been acquired by another company, and they have merged with a company called Full Screen. And as a part of that merging process, they have set everything on YouTube to private and removed a whole bunch of things. So this includes all of the Prime Wars trilogy animated cartoons that they made. And if you hadn't watched them, as Ash said right before the show, I was watching that. You're going to have to track them down on like the dark web of Shadow YouTube or Vimeo or wherever.
You'll have to watch it on somebody's YouTube channel like PrimeFan1991_yes, and he's going to have to put it in a smaller window, and he's going to have to change the audio, and it's going to be upside down and back to front so it doesn't get copyright struck. But the bottom line is, yes, if you were halfway through watching it, much like I was, and you thought, that's fine, it'll be on the internet forever, I'll watch it next time I take a dump. Well, guess what? You should have watched it earlier, or you should have taken a dump earlier. Either way, you've missed out. And the thing about the Prime trilogy,
I would actually argue.
Yeah.
I would actually argue that the dump may have been more interesting.
Fair enough.
You're not miss. You say miss out, but I don't know what anyone was missing out on.
It did not get better. It did not.
They did improve, but not in a massive amount. Like the voice acting got better, the animation got better. It still wasn't groundbreaking. Never was.
Yeah, the improvement is like the difference between having gastro and having the flu.
One is slightly less uncomfortable.
One, you're blowing out your butt. The other one, you're blowing out your nose.
Yeah, it's like not as fun. They both affect you on a level to a point where it makes you unable to, act normally as you normally would because you're so affected by how terrible it is, right? Yeah, so I forgot what the second part of the joke was.
So enraged by the Prime Wars trilogy was Max that he forgot to finish his insult.
Well, I can tell you this, guys, right now. The Prime Wars trilogy is available on YouTube in its entirety on any number of other people's re-uploads.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I think
it is everywhere.
I think the main concern of this has been less the loss of this soulless mess and more like Machinima, which initially started as this avenue for a lot of like smaller creators and like video game related stuff to get their content out there and really, make themselves known and bring that stuff to Machinima type stuff to a forefront. Now that's basically all gone.
Machinima's YouTube channel was in fact the archive of some of the sort of more well-known podcasts and videocasts around, and a lot of the creators from Machinima's early days have since left Machinima and gone on their own, but they always sort of took solace in the fact that their early stuff was always available online. And so there's been a bit of an outpouring of people going, "Oh, all my old videos are gone. They're not coming back. Nobody's communicated this with me." One thing that I did think was funny was that someone actually posted an excerpt from the email that was sent to all the creators whose videos were on the YouTube channel, saying that they have done their best to ensure that a smooth and easy transition would occur as Machinima was subsumed into the full screen brand. And yes, smooth and easy. This was not.
No. Yeah. Quite the opposite. It literally vanished in the middle of the night. It's like sitting in your lounge room and then suddenly all the furniture vanishes and your TV's gone. You're like, well, I was watching that.
Well,
but the furniture was covered in mold.
Yeah. The
it wasn't good furniture. Great. No.
All right. That is it for the news. We have been on the air for about an hour and a bit. Max, I think you've got a new acquisition. I have not, and beyond the ones that we've already talked about. I'm not sure you have either. Ash, do you?
I do. I have a surprise figure, but I mean,
let's talk about Max's first, and we'll
Max, go to yours. I know what Max's is. I'm interested.
So, right, this is the Oculamax. What's the full name? Oculamax Perfection series. Terragus Rally. Basically, Oculamax is Mastermind Creations, but doing masterpiece style figures. Their Terragus was a Trailbreaker, and this is their Trailbreaker done up, but I believe it's in the style of Dakar Rally. I think that's the rally it is.
Yeah.
All I know is
it's a rally style. Yeah.
It's like slightly more. It's like a Trailbreaker in the sort of rally color scheme, and
a yellow fellow.
It looks beautiful.
We were just talking about Dayglow Transformers. This is pretty much the definition of it, right?
Yeah,
it is. It's not perfect engineering wise. Like you can see, the foot's really floppy there, and you have to be very specific about where you apply pressure when you bend his knees, because otherwise things will just come apart. The weapon integration isn't the greatest in the world. Like it's all a bit. There's just a whole bunch of little parts, but it's a bit unclear what you're supposed to do, and none of it quite holds in properly. And then the transformation has some decent steps, but it lacks that MMC polish. You know what I mean? That you'd find on things like their Tarn and Impact and all that. But at the end of the day, despite not being necessarily the most technically impressive figure in the world, just from a visual perspective alone, it is beautiful.
He is a very nice yellow fellow.
Very true.
And I love all the stuff, like he's covered in all these little sticker details, and so stuff like as a lot of callbacks to like other MMC products. There's what is it? There's Remix, few Raw Perfection series like the Ravage. There's other stuff on there as well. Stuff like sponsor logos are like Skiing Penguin. There's there's like the ages 3 and up logo is on here. There's UNAM Studios. There's a whole bunch of little callbacks on there, and it's all pretty cool. So, and when I say it has technical issues, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Certainly, as a piece of engineering, it's not a bad figure, right? It's just, it's not up to what you expect from MMC. And that's, unfortunately, from what I've heard, that's kind of par for the course with Ocular Max. But
I was going to say, like, Ocular Max really, like, I feel like Ocular Max has never really managed to equal the excellence that was their first release, which was Sphinx. And for everyone who watches the Venture Brothers has just gone Sphinx. But
I hear their RC sort of is more in line with Sphinx and regular MMC stuff, so it might be worth checking out. But yeah, even like if you don't compare it to those big, famous iconic MMC releases, and you just look at it as a figure in and of itself, then the engineering's all there, and it all works generally pretty well. And so it all comes wrapped up in a very aesthetically pleasing package. And also, I should mention that this was a prize from a TCCA donation drive. So
I was wondering where you acquired this from. Yeah, nice.
So that is a little incentive for anyone who's on the fence. You can. This was like the 5th or 6th choice as well. So a little incentive there. So was there nothing else from anyone else?
Ash has something.
I managed to get. In the vein of things that are both jets and tanks, but I actually managed to get a hold of Sky Shadow.
Sky Shadow, yes.
He's a very exceptionally, surprisingly fantastic little fellow. Incredible head sculpt. I mean, coming from the range of...
He's a very good-looking boy.
He looks like a anime robot, doesn't he? Like,
he does. I mean, his sort of
pure.
His ear veins and all the rest of it. But just as effectively the big, giant Duocon dude that he is... His transformation is flawless, very fun. His head sculpt is incredible. From the Titan Master time when the headmasters were sort of, a lot of them were pretty okay, but I mean none of them will really stand out incredible. But just he's a nice, sinister black and silver and red dude who turns into a mean-looking jet, a really nice-looking tank. And I love him, and he is great. And as far as leader figures go, he's exceptional. Like, look at him in my hands. He's a big boy.
He's a big unit and very poseable. It looks like he's got some ankle tilts going on there as well.
He's got some amazing ankle tit action moving off the thing. Ankle tits. Great. Just, he's got ball-jointed knees. He's got ball-jointed thighs. He's got incredible, like, really hungry knee joints that just want to stay everywhere. The only thing that kind of bothers me is obviously I feel that any bot that goes above Voyager scale needs a nice hand sculpt, or at least just needs to be more than just a block of plastic. I mean, I'm not talking full finger articulation, but having the whole this is nice. Like, even if you got your keyboard fingers, he's just very pretty, and I probably transform him at least twice a week. I just see him and go, yeah, let's go again. Especially because you can have the whole I'm not feeling too well. It splits perfectly in half. So if you really want to, you can actually do the whole Darth Maul ending from episode 1.
He's the right color too.
Yeah, exactly. He's black. He's a black and red fella that just gets torn in half very easily. And I feel like now that I've got Skytread, he's got a son. Tanks, jets, everybody's friends around here. It's all very good.
They all love to combine the Decepticons, don't they?
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing we were discussing earlier. There's not really such thing as an Autobot Duocon, but then there's dozens for the Decepticons.
Yeah,
they've cornered the market. Bastards.
All right, look, very quickly before we finish off, I'm going to show off the thing that I made over the weekend. I didn't make most of this, but and hang on, I'll just switch the camera onto me. So I have collected a bunch of pins over the time. How there? I've collected a bunch of pins over the last couple of years, and so I finally decided to sort of put them together on a notice board, and have thus realised that I don't have that many of them, so I need to buy more.
Or you can buy a smaller notice board and make them look like this more.
It's already quite small. The notice board was $2.80 at Daiso. So, yeah, it's gone well. So I've got the little We Achieved Something from I think it's Lee Bobowitz's Kickstarter. There's a couple of pins from different places. I can't remember everyone's name at the moment, but yeah. So a lot of them are very heavily More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light focused. I am okay with that, obviously, and yeah, I'm going to return to prowling the internet looking for Transformers pins.
Excellent. I'm a big fan of pins in general. I really do like it's something quantifiably fun.
So I've gotten into pins and over the last few years because in my other life I go to technology trade shows, and as Mobile World Congress is coming up, I'll be disappearing at the end of February to head over to Barcelona for a couple of weeks. And during that time, Google runs a pin chase at Mobile World Congress where you have to sort of go to all of Google's partner stands and collect Android pins. And so one of the reasons I got the notice board for this lot was because I also got a larger notice board for the Android pins this week as well. So
nice.
I've been sort of setting them up and making sure that they're sort of properly mounted and measured up and ready to sort of actually be hung up on display. So working on that.
Nice.
Anyway, I think that's about it for the show. We've certainly run out of run sheet, so I think it's about time we end the show. Thank you for listening, everyone, and if you are watching along with the live record, as a couple of people did, it is late on a Friday night, so fair enough. Thanks for checking us out. If you want to find out more about these stories, you'll find the links to all of them and some more things if we've got to talk about them in the show notes. They are posted to the Australian Transformers Weekly Facebook page and the Podbean site, which is transformersweekly.podbean.com. You can find us on Facebook at Australian Transformers Weekly, and Max and Ash and myself are all quite active in Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook. We are a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. It's a registered club in Victoria. We're run by volunteers like us who donate their time and money like us on a Friday night to make the club better for everyone. Our goal is to connect Transformers fans around the country. We do it by engaging the collecting community. We like to attend trade shows and not trade shows so much as more conventions. I'm still in trade show mode. I'm excited about Barcelona.
If there's Transformers trade shows out there, please sign me up.
Well, there are, right? Like, so Hasbro does Toy Fair in Melbourne, sort of around February, March each year as well. So
they do indeed.
There are trade shows, and there's usually a bit of a advanced look at some upcoming figures around that time, hopefully coming out soon. But yeah, sorry, Max, what were you saying?
And on occasion, there's a bit of TCCA presence at said trade fair.
Yeah, occasionally. You can find out more information about the club, including some affordable yearly membership options, to show your support at transformerscca.com. And as Max just pointed out, he did win his Ocular Max Terrigen Rally as a raffle prize. We do.
You too could be a winner.
Donation drives, yes. So that is it from us. Max and Ash, thanks for joining me. We'll be back with more Transformers news next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.
All that's news to news to new news.
The new news.
The new news.
News. I should probably push the stop broadcast button.
Oh, okay.